Hello and welcome to the Happy PharmD podcast. I'm Dr. Alex Barker, founder and CEO here at the Happy PharmD, where we help pharmacists get jobs they love. Today, I'm joined by a fellow pharmacist who loves what she does. It's Dawn Grittman. Hey, Dawn.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Today, what I'd love to do, Dawn, with you is share a little bit of your journey, where you were before working with us at the Happy PharmD, and the kind of work that you're doing now. I'd kind of call it association work. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. So now I work at the National Alliance on Mental Illness, also known as NAMI, and it is, as the name implies, it's a national organization, but there's also state organizations and local affiliates as part of that. So yeah, it's a big group of advocates and people working on education, advocacy, and support for mental illness and those affected by it.
A great job for pharmacists that I think a lot of people would never even consider, simply because I don't think people consider associations as a place for pharmacists to work.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's something people think that maybe that's more of from a business perspective,
Yeah.
or, I would say more of the business side, but there's definitely a lot of things, especially depending on the type of association, that they are looking for skills. Healthcare obviously is a big sector. So a lot of work in associations touches on healthcare. And there's a ton of associations out there that are healthcare related.
I think if I was more of a team player, Dawn, I think you have the kind of job that I would want. I just like running my own thing, though. But
Yeah.
it sounds like a great job and something that I'm really passionate about, which is mental health, fighting burnout, all the things we're doing here at the company. But
Yeah.
let's go back in time.
Yes.
Let's wind us back a few years before you knew about the Happy PharmD.
Yes.
Tell us about
Yes.
your career and your history. What were you doing prior to this job?
Yeah. Well, boy, we could go way back. So I graduated in 2006 from pharmacy school. So I've been out for, gosh, what is it? We do the math, 16 years. Went to the University of Iowa. So go Hawks. But I have done several different things throughout my career. I started in hospital pharmacy, but if we go through the years, I've done managed care, I've done MTM, I've done quality measurements. And so if we speed up to a couple years ago, I actually am, well, as I said, University of Iowa. I'm originally from Iowa, moved to Arizona a couple of years ago. And so while I was doing that, I was looking to change positions anyway. And at that time, I was working in managed care. And because of the move, I was going to have to leave. This was all during the beginning of the pandemic. So a lot of people were working from home if it was possible. So fortunately, I got to do that. But I knew with the move that I wouldn't be able to keep that current position. And honestly, I wasn't looking to continue that position anyway. I just knew that there were different skills I wanted to use. I wanted to grow and develop in different ways. So as I was moving to Arizona, I was also looking for a new position. And I had worked in Iowa. I had worked with somebody on the resume part and some stuff on LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
I did have a little bit of that as a background, but I was applying to so many jobs. I had a list. I feel like this sounds like typical pharmacist. I had a spreadsheet, like who
Yep.
I applied to, what day I applied to, if I got an interview, how many interviews. So I had that all lined up because honestly, it was, to keep track of all of them. I couldn't do it without having the spreadsheet. I was applying to so many things. So, but I wasn't getting, I might get an interview, I might get to round 2 and it was 3 rounds of interviews, or I might get all the way to the final interview, but I wasn't getting the offer. So in the fall of 2020, that's when I looked at the Happy PharmD and found you guys. And there was the online courses, Alex, that you do or did. I'm not sure what the status on those are now,
Yeah,
but
Career Jumpstart.
The Teachable platform. So I got
Mhm.
on there, watched all of those courses and videos, and really thought about the networking piece and making connections and the resume and LinkedIn and all of that, and using LinkedIn has been a huge for me in terms of anytime I would read about something or see a webinar or even a talk on Happy PharmD, I would get on LinkedIn and reach out to that person. Like, I just heard you speak here, or I read an article by you and I think it's really interesting what you're doing, like to connect. And so help to grow my network. So some of those things I think really were helpful. I started building more connections and not just friending somebody like you do on Facebook or whatever platform it is. I only have
Yeah.
Facebook and LinkedIn, so I'm not as familiar with all the other ones that are out there, but making those connections on LinkedIn and touching back with people. And there were actually some people, recruiters and organizations that I got to know their HR people because I was building those relationships. And what ended up happening is within a few months, 2 or 3 months, I was doing interviews, and I think it was one of those 2 or 3 rounds of interviews, but a few days before Christmas of 2020, I got a job offer with Honor Health, which is a hospital system here in the Phoenix area where I live, and it was for an IT pharmacy role. And that was really interesting because that was one area I had not done in the past. And so what I was able to do though was talk about my passion and things that I had done in that area.
Yep.
And was able to tweak my resume and just modify so they could see where I had an interest in the area. So I got to work with them.
And you had no prior experience?
Nope, no prior experience, no residency, no.
If you're
Nope.
not watching this, like you're missing out, and you're just listening, you're missing out on me smiling because I love hearing the no experience part. Because it so many people come to us and say like, I don't know what I can do, and I don't think I can do anything because I don't have experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's and to be clear, Don, you didn't even work with a coach, right?
No, I did not. I did
And
the
that's
teachable curriculum.
yes, that is the main thing that we do, right? We work
Uh,
with people one-on-one. We help
mm-hmm.
them with the entire process. You just took our course and it
Mm-hmm.
landed you in a job that you had no prior experience in.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, and
I've got
yeah,
goosebumps.
yeah. It was amazing for me. It was a great Christmas present for sure, because here I'd been sending out application after application after application, and what was really helpful is I would say there was work I was doing on my own, and you guys talk about this. You do have passions and other things that you can tap into. So what I was doing, and I think what got me the interview and got the group interested in giving me an offer, was I was starting to do some IT learning on my own. So I'm not a spokesperson for Data Camp, but that's the program that I use. So every week I was going into Data Camp and I was learning some basics of SQL. And also I was on a program for learning some SAS. So just starting to get into some of that IT, those languages and that world. And so when I put that on the resume, and so it was something that stood out, I think. So I think that was part of it, is definitely saying, here's why you should take a further look at what I have to offer. So yeah, pretty exciting.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So in terms of a timeline, you said you started with us in the fall of
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
So
a few months later, I'm not sure
mhm.
exactly when in the fall,
Yeah, it's
but
probably
it sounds like
October, November, and then I got the job offer around Christmas time. So it was pretty quick.
a Christmas miracle. It's too bad I didn't
Yes.
record this before Christmas.
Oh, Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a gift any time of the year, really, right? If you find something you're interested in and you get the opportunity to show what you can do.
One of the things that I really enjoy about our program is this idea of indispensability, right? I talk about it in my book. I talk about it a little bit in the program. And it's one thing to say, like, awesome, we helped you get this great job.
Mhm.
And you'd never had experience, you didn't have a residency, you didn't have a certification, you took some courses, you got out there, you hustled, you did all the things that we recommend. Great job, Don. You figured out how to be an indispensable pharmacist. You took the things that we taught you. You were in informatics or in IT,
Mhm.
right? And then
Mhm.
you're now in association.
Mhm.
And I think it just goes to show that, we've really cracked down the process of what do pharmacists need to do so that, hey, the next job may be great, but maybe there's another job after that that could be the dream job.
Mhm.
And you took
Mhm.
all of those things. And when did you transition into this job that you have currently?
Yeah. So this job I've had since the end of May. So just a little over a half year, not quite a year.
Okay.
And yeah, that again was, and I think that was one of the things that stuck with me from the course was every position can be a potential stepping stone to something else, something even better. And, I think a lot of people are thinking of that next thing, which it is important. But I also was thinking about, well, what would be, an ultimate or the next step. And so this was, some of its timing, of course,
Yeah.
but this position came up. So what I do now is my position. Well, and actually, hot off the press, I just got a title change today. Not necessarily,
Hey,
not necessarily
congrats.
a yeah. Thank you. Not necessarily a promotion or anything. Just a change in some of my responsibilities. So I was the senior manager of healthcare initiatives. What that means is I was working on programs that were related to frontline wellness. And so that includes public safety and healthcare professionals. So we were developing content and disseminating that content for things like burnout and moral injury and depression and all those things that can happen to frontline professionals in the course of their work and how resilience and how to address those things when and if they come up. And then now I'm still a part of that, but I'm also putting my foot in another team, and I am going to be working on a program called Provider, and that is education for, as the name implies, for providers, not just physicians and nurses, but anybody that works in healthcare. And it's content that's talking about what families and individuals are going through when they experience a mental health crisis
Mhm.
and the recovery and all of the emotions, all of the things people may be thinking about as that's happening. So I'm really fortunate I get to kind of keep my feet in all of that. And then we also have another program called Hearts and Minds, which talks about physical health is mental health. It's all connected. It's all
Mhm.
um, a part of you as a human. So why not think about humans as a whole and not just we have mental health over here and physical health over there. So I get to do a lot of exciting stuff in this role.
It sounds like you've created a position for yourself in which you're basically just following your curiosities and passions and strengths.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's
And
really
you can get
nice.
all of that in our course, Career Jumpstart.
Yes, all of your dreams will come true.
I know. There's something,
Oh,
I have to admit, Don, there's something it's weird to talk about this. It's almost surreal because, we this is what we talk about a lot internally as a company, and it's what we talk about in our marketing, that like it is possible to have a job in pharmacy that you love what you do, you love being a pharmacist, and you can love the actual kind of work that you do. And at times when, especially talking with like naysayers, they say things like, this is hogwash. This is malarkey, and full of barnacles. It's not possible. And it's great to bring me back into reality and be talking with you, because it's like, yeah, you figured it out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't love the job that you do, but you found it, you created it. And on top of it all, you've made so much progress that you've been promoted. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And obviously everything that I'm talking about here, it's my thoughts and feelings. I'm not speaking on behalf of NAMI by any means, but I definitely feel like it's my place. I will say too that I have volunteered with NAMI in the past and I've done work with them. So this didn't necessarily just come out of nowhere, but again, to
No, it
the
almost never
point,
does, right? You put in
right,
the work.
right,
You went to the
right.
career gym, right? Lifting those muscles. You did exactly what you should have done.
Yeah, yeah.
And it sounds like it's almost like a blend of a job where, yes, it's within associations,
Mhm.
um, which is its own unique flair for a
Mhm,
career
mhm.
niche, but it also sounds very related to medical writing and information.
So with medical writing, it depends on your audience, I believe. So I haven't done a lot of technical writing. So I think some medical writing is that, but I've done writing for the general public and then speaking in the language that healthcare professionals would use. So yeah, so I think it's, like a lot of fields, once you start looking into it, there's usually a whole lot more than you think. So I think that's another thing too, is that you might hear something like specialty pharmacy or medical writing, and you might think it's one set position and there's certain parameters everybody follows, but you start looking into it and there's a lot that's out there and available.
What would you say some of the pros and cons are of being in this position?
Pros, definitely. So, what I like a lot is there's flexibility. I get to, so for example, I just left to go visit my first grader at school. They have school lunch where the parents can come visit every so many Fridays of the year. So, I got to go do that. Didn't have to think twice about, you know, finding a way to make that happen. So, that's really nice. Um, Definite pro. Another one is autonomy, being able to come up with ideas and run with them. So, and it's an area that I'm interested in and passionate about. So, I do have some family history of depression and those kind of things. So, to me, the relevance of it makes, it lines up with what I value and what has affected me personally. So those are some pros. Cons, I think just like any job or anything that you're passionate about, there's always plenty of work to do, and there's days where you feel like you haven't made a dent, and
Yes.
you find more and more. You go down enough rabbit holes, and you find more and more problems that you want to help solve. So, but I don't think that's any different than a lot of other work.
Is your job remote as well?
Yes, it is remote. So yeah, that's nice as well. So, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
What advice would you share to someone who may be considering working with the Happy PharmD but is on the fence?
Yeah. So I would say it's a good investment. And I know, Alex, you obviously would be able to speak better to what you guys offer, and things change. And even in the last couple of years, I know things have changed a lot. So the teachable courses that I did was, I want to say it was several $100s. And to me, I definitely got more out of it than what I, paid for it. And to me, that seemed like a great investment in what I got as a result. So the other thing I would say about the Happy Farm D that I think makes the difference is you get that kind of peer-to-peer support, and you get people that get the pharmacy world and what it's like being a pharmacist, and the whole career areas and the different places you can go. So I think that's another differentiator. Is it's always great to have people who get it and know where you're coming from, and get your humor, get what your frustrations are. So I think that's a big positive, as opposed to working with maybe somebody that's more of a generalist in terms of, well, I can beef up your resume, or, oh, I can help you with your LinkedIn profile.
I don't know why I'm struggling with questions near the end. Normally I've got a ton of energy and I know exactly what to say. We'll cut this part out. Well, you've shared what you're going to work on, so I don't want to rehash that. Normally that's what I end on.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think is next for your career, Dawn?
Goodness. Well, I think, to me, the sky's the limit. Now, unfortunately, mental illness isn't necessarily a glamorous topic, or it's definitely serious, right? So it's not that you wish there was a lot more work to do. I'd love to be able to work myself out of a job that we've got a lot of this figured out. But of course, we know that's very pie in the sky. So I think the opportunity to spread the education that we've created at NAMI, and getting the word out is really important for what I want to do. I do enjoy teaching and working with people and talking about how we can solve problems and make things better. So I see a lot of that. I've done some precepting of pharmacy students and residents, so I hope to continue to do some of that. I'd love to maybe get some of that into NAMI. I don't know what that would look like, but I think that would be really interesting. And then, yeah, I'd say there's also a consistency factor. We have a message and we keep sending it out and getting people's attention to realize what the issues are and how we can help solve those. So I think that's a big part of what I'll be doing.
I love it. Dawn, thank you so much for hanging out with me and sharing your story.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And for you listening, if you also want to go on this experience and get a dream job and start building an indispensable career, we'd love to have a conversation with you. We'll have a link somewhere around here. Just click it and you can start that journey. It doesn't cost anything. We'll ask you a few questions about where you're at so that we can have a productive conversation. And we'd love to get you into a job like this, doing stuff that you love and being a pharmacist who's proud of really our profession.